So, good evening, friends. It's July 4th, 2019. You may hear some explosions in the background. It's perfectly legal to buy some fireworks, and anyway, even the illegal ones are pretty easy to get, and some of them are pretty loud. And it's not really dark out, but we're getting there. There's going to be big fireworks downtown. I like fireworks. Made in China, probably. Beautiful stuff sometimes. I really do enjoy fireworks, but I don't think I'll be heading down there this evening. I'm going to hang out here. So I'm working on Asylum City project quite a bit lately. I've got a link in this Medium article, of course, to my playlist, but also to H.G. Wells in 1922. I really think highly of this article, which is H.G. Wells coming to America. President Harding is in charge, and he's worried that we might be heading back into war, like we've just come out of World War I when he's writing this. And the world knows that there's impending problem, impending issue. There's lots of economic uncertainty, money systems broken down, governments not trusting each other. Um, Now, where are we today? I think there are complex bureaucracies. I think Trump has not just sat on his butt. He does golf a lot, but I think that's something presidents should do if they enjoy it. Flying off to visit the Chinese and talk to the Russians a lot. I don't think that the mistrust levels are as high as some people think they are, but I very much understand H.G. Wells in his article here. For one thing, he talks about how we're naturally trivial creatures. He's like giddy with a sense of New York and everything going on. He just wants to go see the Everglades in Florida and go shopping and just have fun, joke, party. And yet he's here to cover this very important and serious conference. And he's noticing how he's not that serious in his own mind. I mean, he's easily distracted and so on. That's kind of what I like. He's being introspective, psychological, telling us how he feels. And the entire long essay I highly recommend. As you know, Martian Math goes goes into H.G. Wells. The War of the Worlds takes me to Orson Welles, but it's not like anything he's written is out of bounds or anything. In other words, as you spread your wings in Martian Math, which is a lot about science fiction, don't ignore H.G. Wells, is my advice. Great writer. So, what are we going to do about documenting? I think with these camps, like the ones I'm developing anyway, people there need easy access to like podcast equipment, get their voices, and if they want, get their faces on the public record pretty quick. Something like Facebook, where if you do work or start to do things in the camp, it starts to build a record for you of your service as you've. I mean, it's not like when you get to Asylum City that you should be made to just sit around, right? People don't like to do that. They see needs, they see things that need to be done, and they want to do them. They see that lady over there crying, they want to go comfort her. They see the kids crying, they want to comfort them. Some people are nurses, some people are doctors, and they want to get to work. So don't just force people to sit around. It's not a prison. These are not cells. And organize the labor and start making a record of what people do and start rewarding them with more assignments if they're good at certain things. I don't know. You know what civilization's right. Like, I don't have to tell you all this stuff. But we don't want people to go around nameless and faceless, and we don't want these camps to be under the radar. Each one, if it doesn't have a radio station, it should have an internet radio station. Like every one of these asylums needs to be a place where people can tune in and see the people and talk to them one on one. Doesn't matter if it's a different language. We got all languages out here. So, and if you're being detained, it doesn't mean you can't talk to people. Now, the detainment aspect is something else to think about. I'm not into this idea of a prison, but if you have nowhere else to go, if there's food there and there's also volunteers, there's people who want to be there, there's teachers, there's education. I mean, it's attractive enough that you might want to help us build this place rather than take off and leave your family. So the gravitational attraction of these asylum cities is promoting a voluntary, I want to stay here kind of feelings. So what's to keep those cities from getting really big? Well, some of them need to get really big. Some of these campuses are very big already. So, and people have been living in them for years and years, right? So it's true that once you create these asylum camps, they tend to urbanize over time. And I'm saying that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot to be learned from that experience as we manage the growth of these places. And there is room for them. It's not like we don't have room in this world. And we don't need to, practice Malthusianism where we invent some reason why we have to murder a lot of people. That's what we're trying to get away from, actually. That's the past. That's what we hope, for the sake of H.G. Wells and other people of sensitivity and intelligence, that we can pull out of that and take advantage of the technology we have. Remember, we're colonizing and terraforming from a future civilization. It's kind of like we're coming back from the future. We're like Martians. And we're like, hey, look at, you've got all these computers, you've got a lot of what it takes to keep people happy. A lot of people are happy just playing computer games all day, and you're saying that's a bad thing? They're happy. Look how little power that takes. It's like, what, are they just going to watch Netflix all day? Yeah, actually. You might learn something. And you're not commuting, you're not wasting fossil fuel. It's actually far less impactful on the environment to watch Netflix all day than to be driving all day. Now, if you're a trucker, you need to drive, you've got cargo, I understand. I'm not saying we shouldn't drive, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't also watch Netflix all day or play computer games. It's like, well, that's not right. People need to work for a living. It's like breathing is work. What do you mean by work anyway? Let's talk about physics. Let's talk about energy. Let's talk about energy over time. Let's talk about power. Let's talk about how we're each like a 100-watt bulb that needs to stay lit. And let's talk about energy from the sun. Let's talk about photosynthesis and cell division. I'm happy to talk about work in that context. But it's some like moralizing thing. It's like, well, I got a job, so I'm better than you. I don't know. Is that what it takes? I mean, what religion was that again? I think there's a lot of twisted thinking out there, and that bespeaks of needing education, which bespeaks of maybe watching Netflix all day, maybe not stupid stuff, maybe actually catching up on what's been going on. Whole family just sitting together and learning. Now, who do we trust to teach us? Well, there's the good question. But maybe not the usual suspects, hey? Anyway, recommending this H.G. Wells stuff. And let's hope we start seeing more of our newcomers to the camps getting documented and getting online and getting those podcasts going. And let's get the journalists going. Let's really create transparency here. and maybe slowly we can rescue ourselves from Fourth Reich, right? Okay, talk to you soon.